Ken Crispin writes in his book, which we're going to be talking about later this evening, that the voice of idealism has faded as society has become more insecure and vengeful. Do you agree?
Yes.
In what ways?
Well, it's really happened since the War on Terror began, and also, I suppose, boat people tamper. Governments, political leaders, especially in our government, taught people to be frightened of boat people. Said they were all sorts of terrible people. They'd become prostitutes, drug runners, they were queue jumpers, they were illegals, they might become terrorists or be terrorists. Now, most, 99% of all of that was quite untrue. Overwhelmingly, they were fleeing quite terrible situations at home. And the Australian public was taught to be fearful of people who come by boats. And then you get terrorist acts and problems in Iraq and Afghanistan, which not entirely created by the West, but Iraq was certainly created by the West. And again, people are taught to be fearful. We've got to have these extra powers, we've got to do this, we've got to do that, we've got to diminish the normal rights of ordinary citizens to make sure that everyone can be safe.
So you think that political culture is leading in this? They're not following public opinion, they're actually directing it?
Yes, I do. Because it's very easy for politicians to do this, or for political leaders to do this, when they're talking to their own public about the unknown to the public. I suppose, everyone's a bit suspicious of the unknown. And imagine what it would have been like if you'd said of boat people at the time of Tampa, instead of Tampa happened. Well, look, these people are fleeing terror, they're fleeing the Taliban. Here's one family, a wife and 2 girls. They weren't allowed to be educated. They've been educated for 5 years illegally by a female professor who can no longer work. But that's all become much too dangerous. They'll all get shot if they stay. They had a small business, wasn't worth much, but they sold it, and then they had a couple of options. They could have gone over the border into Pakistan, joined a queue 6 years long, and hoped somebody would tap them on the shoulder and say, you can go to this country. But if you've got a couple of young girls and you want them to have a future, that's no future, 6 years in that sort of camp. And so you try to get somewhere. The money they got from their business wasn't enough to buy a ticket to Europe, but it was enough to buy a ticket for Australia. So all right, how can you get there? You can't do it by an airline because we haven't got a passport, we haven't got papers. We couldn't go to the Taliban and say we want to flee your wretched regime, give us a passport. We'd be shot if we did that. Now, if you describe this sort of family, and this is pretty accurate describing some of the families that came here, then people would be sympathetic. Instead, they were taught to be fearful.
Former Prime Minister Malcolm Fraser, who's here tonight at Readings Hawthorn to talk about his book, his memoirs, with Ken Crispin.